Hello everyone, welcome to Over Channel. Money laundering. It's a term that conjures images of shadowy figures and secretive transactions. It sounds like something out of a spy movie, with clandestine meetings and covert operations. But it's a real and pervasive problem that affects every corner of the globe. Criminals around the world generate massive profits from illegal activities. These activities range from drug trafficking to arms dealing. Think drug trafficking, arms dealing, and human trafficking. The profits from these crimes are enormous. That dirty money needs to be cleaned. It needs to be made to look legitimate. They need to make it look like it came from legitimate sources. This is where the process of money laundering comes into play. That's where money laundering comes in. It's a sophisticated process that involves multiple steps. This process involves taking dirty money and moving it through a series of complex transactions. These transactions are designed to obscure the money's origins. The goal is to disguise its origins and make it nearly impossible to trace. This makes it difficult for authorities to track down the illicit funds. This illicit flow of funds destabilizes economies. It corrupts financial institutions and undermines public trust. It fuels further criminal activity, creating a vicious cycle of crime and corruption. The scale of money laundering is staggering. It's a global issue that affects every nation. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime estimates that trillions of dollars are laundered globally each year. This is a staggering amount of money. This dirty money has a corrosive effect on the global financial system. It erodes the integrity of financial institutions. It undermines the integrity of banks and financial institutions. This can lead to a loss of public confidence. It can even threaten national security. The impact of money laundering is far-reaching and profound. In 2006, a seemingly unrelated event in Mexico City would set off a chain reaction, eventually exposing one of the biggest money laundering scandals in history. The Mexican authorities intercepted a DC-9 jet carrying over 5.5 tons of cocaine. This wasn't just any drug bust, this was a massive haul, with an estimated street value in the hundreds of millions of dollars. But the cocaine itself was only the tip of the iceberg. The investigation into the drug trafficking operation revealed something far more alarming. The authorities discovered a trail of financial transactions that pointed to a major U.S. bank, Wachovia. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered a shocking truth. The deeper they went, the more layers of deception they found. Wachovia, a well-known and respected financial institution, was deeply entangled in a massive money laundering scheme. This revelation shook the very foundations of the banking industry. The bank had been processing billions of dollars for Mexican drug cartels. These illicit funds were seamlessly integrated into the financial system. This wasn't a case of a few rogue employees turning a blind eye. It was a widespread issue that permeated various levels of the organization. The evidence suggested systemic failures within Wachovia. These failures were not just occasional lapses, but rather a consistent pattern of negligence. The investigation revealed that the bank had neglected to implement basic anti-money laundering controls. These controls are essential to prevent such criminal activities. Wachovia had failed to adequately scrutinize suspicious transactions. These transactions should have been flagged and investigated thoroughly. They had ignored red flags that should have raised alarm bells. These red flags were clear indicators of illicit activities. The sheer volume of money laundered through Wachovia was staggering. It was a clear sign that the bank's internal controls were grossly inadequate. It was a clear indication that something was seriously wrong. The scale of the operation was too large to be ignored. The investigation sent shockwaves through the financial world. The implications were far-reaching, affecting not just Wachovia, but the entire banking sector. How could a major bank like Wachovia be complicit in such a massive criminal enterprise? This question haunted regulators and the public alike. The answer, it turned out, was a toxic combination of greed, negligence, and a failure of oversight. This toxic mix created an environment where illegal activities could thrive unchecked. The heart of the scandal lay in Wachovia's blatant disregard for anti-money laundering, AML regulations. These regulations, put in place to prevent exactly this kind of activity, were treated with shocking indifference. Wachovia, blinded by profits, had chosen to look the other way. Their AML program was woefully inadequate. They lacked proper systems to identify and report suspicious activities. Employees were either poorly trained or pressured to ignore the obvious signs of money laundering. When red flags did pop up, they were often ignored or dismissed. This disregard for compliance created a perfect environment for criminals to exploit. The cartels, recognizing Wachovia's lax oversight, funneled billions through the bank, cleaning their dirty money with ease. The consequences for Wachovia were swift and severe. In 2010, the bank was slapped with a then-record $160 million fine by the U.S. Department of Justice. This was part of a deferred prosecution agreement, a way for the bank to avoid criminal charges in exchange for admitting wrongdoing, paying fines, and implementing reforms. The scandal sent shockwaves through the financial industry. It served as a stark reminder that even the largest institutions are not immune to the allure of illicit profits. The Wachovia case highlighted the real-world consequences of ignoring AML regulations. It underscored the need for robust compliance programs and a culture of ethics within financial institutions. The reputational damage was significant. Wachovia, once a trusted name in banking, was now synonymous with money laundering. The scandal eroded public trust in the bank and the industry as a whole. Section 6. A giant absorbs the shock: the Wells Fargo acquisition. The Wachovia money laundering scandal unfolded during a time of immense turmoil in the financial world. The 2008 financial crisis was in full swing and banks were collapsing left and right. Wachovia, already reeling from the scandal, found itself on the brink of collapse. In a move to stabilize the financial system, Wells Fargo, another major U.S. bank, agreed to acquire Wachovia in 2008. This was no ordinary acquisition. It was a government-forced shotgun wedding designed to prevent Wachovia's failure from further crippling the already fragile financial system. While the acquisition prevented a complete collapse, it didn't erase the stain of the money laundering scandal. Wells Fargo inherited not only Wachovia's assets, but also the legal and reputational baggage that came with it. Section 7. Fighting fire with firewalls. Technology to the rescue. The Wachovia scandal served as a wake-up call for the financial industry. It highlighted the vulnerabilities and gaps in the existing systems, pushing financial institutions to rethink their strategies and adopt more robust measures. It became painfully clear that traditional methods of combating money laundering were inadequate. Manual processes and outdated systems were no match for the sophisticated techniques employed by financial criminals. The sheer volume and complexity of financial transactions had outpaced the ability of humans to effectively monitor and detect suspicious activity. Banks were struggling to keep up with the ever-increasing data and the speed at which transactions were being conducted. This realization led to a surge in investment in financial technology, particularly in the field of AML compliance. Financial institutions began to recognize the potential of technology to transform their operations and enhance their ability to combat financial crime. Banks began pouring resources into developing sophisticated software solutions. These solutions were designed to automate and streamline the AML compliance process, making it more efficient and effective. These solutions leverage the power of artificial intelligence and machine learning to analyze vast amounts of data, identify patterns, and flag potentially suspicious transactions in real time. By using advanced algorithms, banks can now detect anomalies that would have been impossible to spot manually. These technological advancements have significantly enhanced the ability of financial institutions to detect and prevent money laundering. The integration of AI and machine learning has not only improved accuracy, but also reduced the time required to identify and respond to threats. By automating many of the manual tasks involved in AML compliance, banks can now focus their resources on investigating high-risk activities and strengthening their defenses against increasingly sophisticated financial criminals. This shift allows for a more proactive approach, ensuring that financial institutions stay one step ahead in the fight against money laundering. Section 8. Lessons learned. The enduring impact of the Wachovia case. The Wachovia money laundering scandal stands as a cautionary tale in the annals of financial crime. It exposed the devastating consequences of unchecked greed, regulatory negligence, and a culture of complacency. The scandal forced the financial industry to confront its shortcomings and take a hard look in the mirror. In the wake of the scandal, regulators around the world strengthened AML regulations and increased enforcement efforts. Banks, faced with the prospect of hefty fines and reputational damage, began investing heavily in compliance programs and technologies. The Wachovia case served as a watershed moment, ushering in a new era of AML compliance. It highlighted the need for a multifaceted approach, combining robust regulations, sophisticated technology, and a culture of compliance within financial institutions. Section 9. A call to vigilance. The never-ending battle against financial crime. The fight against money laundering is far from over. As technology advances, so too do the methods employed by criminals to clean their dirty money. The battle against financial crime is a constant game of cat and mouse, requiring ongoing vigilance and adaptation. Financial institutions must remain vigilant in their efforts to combat money laundering. This requires continuous investment in technology, ongoing employee training, and a steadfast commitment to ethical conduct at all levels of the organization. The Wachovia scandal serves as a stark reminder that no institution is immune to the threat of financial crime. It is a collective responsibility, shared by governments, regulators, financial institutions, and individuals, to work together to safeguard the integrity of the global financial system.